Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Spartan HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always,
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panayotis Yasu, my brother. What is going on?
What is going on, my man? How was your weekend?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just some more landscaping work, more shoveling and things of that nature. A lot of stone and just moving a lot of things around. So,
Mhm.
a little physically exhausted from doing that, but fortunate I keep my health up so I can do those things. It's like
Mhm.
I train to do those things, so it's not just taking me out. So staying fit, physically fit, so you can do like these everyday tasks without killing yourself. I mean, that's really, that's what it's all about for me. So it's getting good to, be able to have those choices to make
Yeah, of
certainly at
course.
my age. And so definitely appreciate that. But certainly we appreciate you guys being here tonight. Certainly already seeing a lot of watch hours and views coming up. So we really appreciate you guys being here tonight. Just again, make sure you hit the like button, certainly not only on this show, but also hop on over to Sparta HQ Network. Certainly show some love over there and just drop a like. Won't cost you anything to do that. And certainly we appreciate it. Anything you want to give to the network through a Cash App or Super Chat, Blackman Unfiltered Cash App scrolling at the bottom of the screen, or like I said, you can certainly drop a super chat there. And certainly anything that you want to give to us personally, certainly we appreciate support that we get from some of our loyal viewers. Again, our Cash Apps are also scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And today, certainly we try to do this once a month. Today is our call in. All right. So again, I'm going to, in a few minutes, I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and you guys can come up and be part of the conversation. Now, again, our format is every 4 shows we do a call in, and so if you want to talk about something that we might have talked about in prior shows, and we've talked about everything from marriage to weddings to taxes to cancel culture and things of that nature, and a lot of times people have a lot of certainly things to say in the chat and say, hey, drop the link. But again, we only drop the link certainly to make sure that we end the show on time. We only drop that one link once a month, which is a call-in show. So again, if you want to chop it up with us as far as past topics that we've dealt with on the show, you can certainly come up and do that. The rules are your camera must be on, unless you're someone. Now, there's certain individuals that we know and we appreciate because of their backgrounds, but we know these people personally. So we give them a pass if they want to, for certain reasons, need to have the cameras off. But for everybody else, if we don't know you, you got to show your face and be willing to cam up to be on the show. And we don't have too many exceptions when it comes to that. Like I said, unless we've known, and a lot of the people who we know, we've met personally. So so again, we're pretty strict about that. But Pete, how was your weekend?
Pretty good actually. To spend it. My lady's back from vacation, so spend it with her. Surprised her. She didn't know I was coming up to see her. So let's say she was shocked to see me at the house. So she was gone for 10 days. She's not allowed to leave again. I told her.
I got you. I got you. Nice, nice. Well, I'm just so happy for you that certainly you guys seem certainly this is a budding relationship, and hopefully it continues. And I hope to meet her real soon. I know we need to.
It's funny you said that because we were talking about a bunch of things today and yesterday, and being away from her, I really didn't realize. I know she's listening on the other side. How much I actually missed her this last time.
Oh,
You know, she was in down the south visiting her family, parents,
mhm.
and being gone away from her this long, it was like I was having withdrawal this way.
Wow.
So
Mhm.
I'm used to having her, just seeing her, here. You know what I'm saying? So 2 weeks, like, and when me and her daughter kind of like teamed up against her, she goes, you should come up and surprise mom. I'm like, oh, I'm on my way already.
Right.
So I got her flowers. I ran up there. The way we planned it backfired completely. So when I snuck into the house, I didn't see her. She was actually doing dishes. I
Mhm.
ran upstairs thinking, me and her daughter said, I'm going to call mom in my room. You come in and surprise her. She goes, mom's downstairs. All right, I come. So I sneak down. Her son goes like, oh, shh. She turns around like, you want to say hi to me? She goes, I knew you're going to fucking show up.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I got Eric's always in the building tonight. Certainly good to see you here. So he had a comment. He says, "How you see that twinkle, eyes twinkling?" So he's got that twinkling as our little spark going on, looking so cute there. And I got Anton as always, Sock Basse, my Haitian brother. Good to see you, certainly in the place tonight. And like I said, we're going to be dropping the link soon. Certainly join the conversation, but generally, even doing a call-in show, we still like to have a conversation going because we don't like to have a lot of dead space and whatnot during the show. So we're going to kind of chop some things up. So again, you can even comment and chop up on the things that we're going to be talking about. But we were kind of hashing this out before the show, and obviously, certainly in the world of sports, we don't talk a lot of sports on this show. But certainly, one of the things that is happening right now, everybody knows about, certainly is the World Cup, and it's here in the United States. And certainly with that, certainly the world is here, and you see the fandom, you see the ratings. You also see Team USA. They got into the into the elimination round. They play on Wednesday. They're sort of round of 32, and so there's a lot of buzz there, and that buzz will continue, assuming that they're able to continue to advance, get into the round of 16, the quarterfinals, etc. Then that's going to be a big, sort of boom. Certainly for soccer or football, whatever you call it. Here we call it. Actually, I read up today. The English were the ones who came up with the word soccer. We didn't. So the English called it soccer, and certainly that's generating a lot of buzz. England is also in the mix as well. So a lot of teams are certainly a part of this. But the one thing I noticed, certainly for some reason this year, like I said, I'm not a huge soccer football fan. I know Anton. I know he is. I'm not a huge fan, but usually World Cup, it's like the Olympics. Like, there's sports in the Olympics that I'll watch that I have no interest in otherwise. Like, I've watched curling in the Winter Olympics, and it's like I have no use for this. I don't understand it half the time, but it's the feeling, right? It's the idea that this is, these guys are certainly, wanting to win the gold medal. They're very proud of their country. They're representing their countries in a lot of ways, and you really get into it. I don't watch a ton of hockey like that, but Team USA versus Canada, that's like must-see TV. Even if you are, even if you're not a big hockey fan, you can feel it. You can feel the nationalism. You can feel the patriotism that comes across in these contests. And people who wouldn't care about hockey or any of these sports otherwise, they get, they become a part of it. The same thing I see with World Cup. And I remember being at jobs where like the whole cafeteria would be filled with fans watching games, even if it wasn't their national team per se. That there's, like I said, there's a vibe that goes with it. So that's always been there. But the one thing that I noticed this year, bless you, one thing that I noticed this year that I didn't see in previous years was the diversity of a lot of these teams. And just given the nationalistic fervor that comes with the World Cup and whatnot, it hit me for the first time when I saw the U.S. team. Now, for years, I knew the goalie for the U.S. men's national team. His name is Tim Howard. His aunt goes to my church. And in fact, Tim Howard got married in my church. I was there. And for the longest time, he was like, one of the main stars because goalie is one of the most important positions there. He was like one of the only black players on the U.S. men's national team. And I look at the team this year, and it's like half the starting lineup is black, which, for me, it just never hit me like that. And then once I started looking around and seeing all these other teams, and their rosters are full of black players. And coinciding with that is the feeling of how some fans, not all fans, but how some fans were feeling about this in their native countries, because not everyone is happy about it. And it brings up this conversation about nationality and ethnicity and who counts as a national, you're a fan, an American. Who's an American? Who's a Brit? Who's a French person? All these conversations came up, and then I went back in our notes, and it also just blows me away how long we've done this show. I went back. We did a show going on almost 2 years ago, which is still mind-boggling to me that this show's been going on. We're going into our third year. of doing the gray area here on the network. And we went and we did a show from back then where this idea of nationality and ethnicity actually came up, certainly in the conversation. So I went back and again, this was from August of 2024. We did a show where we talked about this. We talked about this very topic. That's not what I want to share. I want to share the PowerPoint presentation. But I got to start the PowerPoint presentation. That would help. That's why. But we had this combo about again, nationality, and it actually came out of the UFC. So you had this UFC fighter who had certainly won a world championship, and he had some very controversial comments at the time that upset a certain number of people. And so let me just bring him up. So his name is, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, but Driscus Duplessis. Okay, so I believe he's from Zimbabwe, is his native country. And, he made news, but I stated the facts. I am an African fighter that resides in Africa. And that was actually reached out because you had a lot of these black fighters from they might have been, Nigerian born or Nigerian ancestry who weren't even living in Africa. They were living in other, America or other places, New Zealand or what have you. And he made this comment: I am the African fighter that resides in Africa. My coaches, my teammates, everyone is African. And then he had an interview later on. Did those belts ever go? So we talk about for these African fighters, these Nigerian ancestry fighters, did any of their belts go to Africa? Or did they take those belts to the countries that they live in? So as far as I know, they came to America and New Zealand. So New Zealand, you had this guy, I think Airbender. I forget the guy's name, but they call him Airbender. Again, African ethnicity or national, background, but he lives in New Zealand. I'm going to take that belt to Africa. I am the African fighter in the UFC. Myself and Cameron, we breathe African air. We wake up in Africa every day. We train in Africa. We're African born. We're African raised. We still reside in Africa. We train out of Africa. That's an African champion, and that's who I'll be. All right. So again, you can certainly look up those comments. Again, he had an interview. I'll just drop the link in the chat if you want to. If you want to, guys who want to look that up, you can certainly go there and look up his comments. But this, to me, it kind of reminded me of that conversation where you have a lot of people, especially in UK. I've been watching a few of the UK YouTube channels, and they've been talking about this idea that, they don't feel connected because of the number of players from the UK who are black or not what they would call English. They're not of English ancestry. And for a lot of people, they're feeling disconnected from the game because they're not necessarily seeing themselves in the game. So I just find it interesting. For all those years, this idea of nationalism was there, but now the dynamics of the teams are changing, and now people are upset about it. Now, at the same time, even though you have this national world event that's going on in these very countries, there's still these ideas about not only patriotism, but also immigration issues are at the forefront of everything now, and people are having mixed feelings about that. What do you do about immigration? Do we need to limit it or cut it down? People are worrying about being replaced, if that's such a thing, and it's raising concerns in people. So again, you have here in the round of 32, you have all these teams that are part of it. I said U.S. is there, Japan is there, all these teams, and when you look at the breakdown. So again, take the African teams out of it, right? It makes sense that if you're in Africa, for the most part, you're going to have majority African players on it. So again, the teams that got into the round of 32 are listed there. The 9 out of the 10 African teams qualified for the round of 32, which I think that might be a first. But then you look at the number of black players on all these teams. Again, France, their entire starting lineup is mostly black. 20 players on the French team. Canada, which I just saw today, 15 players are black. America has 11 players. Like I said, I've never seen that much representation on a team. And even a team like Japan that has 1 player on the team, Guess who the player is or what position that player plays?
Goalie.
Yeah. So he's pretty important. Like you're going to see this guy kind of all the time. And so therefore, people are asking the question that, when you see guys like even Switzerland has 10 black players on it. And people are confused to how is this going to affect? Will this affect the game long term? If you're seeing a lot more black presence across the board in football, association soccer, whatever you want to call it, is that going to turn people away from the game because of the number of players? Is this an immigration issue? And the other thing about this as well, and certainly I'm about to drop the link in a minute if folks want to talk about this. Even for the players, even for the English players, they're still feeling the brunt of segregation, discrimination, racism, etc., even on their teams. Even when they go back home. Now, it used to be a big thing. In fact, I remember, I think it was Nightline, one of those late night news shows. They actually did a segment on it, talking about the abuse that a lot of black players who play for a lot of these English clubs were getting while playing. Like if a black player had the ball, the people in the stands would start shouting monkey chants when they got the ball. I mean, it was just how they were being treated, even though sports is supposed to be the ultimate meritocracy, right? If you're good, you play. And even these guys are still getting it when it comes to play. So again, these themes of what does it mean to be an African? What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean? Especially, next week, America celebrates its 250th anniversary. What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to be a Greek person? Imagine if, and I think I asked you this before we got on the show, if the Greek, and again, I'm not dissing, all right? I'm not dissing you, Pete. If Greece fielded a national team that made it to the World Cup, and if the majority of that team was black players, would you still feel, or would the general Greek population still feel that sense of national pride, knowing that their team is, certainly not only made it to the World Cup, but what if they did get into the round of 32, or they're actually a contender to go far in it? Would that even change the perception of how black people are viewed in that country? Now, America's gone through that, right? We've gone through that period where Jack Johnson became the first heavyweight champion. We went through it when Joe Louis fought Max Schmeling in Yankee Stadium in 1938. And a lot of people credit that to helping to turn the tide in terms of how black people were viewed in America by him defeating Max Schmeling and the whole, German situation that was going on at the time. Can this be actually a useful thing to help unify people and stop looking at this idea of race so much when it comes to sports, and we can just root people on because they're citizens of these countries, they sacrifice for their countries, and not just in sports, whether you serve in the military or you function within the government of your country. Can we get to a point where we can end all these ethnic clashes that we're seeing, or people so worried about being, the browning of their country? So there's a lot there in terms of, and I know I long stroked it, but there's a lot of, to chew on there in terms of what's happening, certainly with the global game, and certainly soccer is the global game without question in terms of viewership, compared to the Super Bowl or anything else. I mean, it's up there in terms of viewership. Is this a positive thing?
Soccer is the number one sport that it doesn't matter what country you're in, you're going to play it. Even in the States, it's becoming very popular here right now. I was surprised how popular it became too recently, but it is becoming very popular. So 1, 2, you mentioned the Olympics beginning. Like, I always have a hard time with the Olympics because who I root for? Do I root for the Greeks or do I root
It's
my
USA,
old
right?
country? You know what I'm saying? So I root for both. I'm like, if I get first and second place, medals for Greece and America, that's a good day for my opinion. Simple as that. Now with this international things players, really don't give a shit what color your skin is. I don't care. If you're a good player and they draft you on the Greek team, kudos to you. You're still a Greek player in my eyes. And I literally just had this conversation with my girl today. Like, you being Greek doesn't mean you have to be bloodline anymore. I realized that by dating her. It's tradition. If you follow traditions, I'm cool with it. You don't have to be blood to be Greek. I know a bunch of Greek who are, saying they're Greek, but they're not 100%. Does that make them less Greek than me? No. I think we overthink where your bloodline is and where you come from. If they're residing in Greece, playing for Greece, and they're damn good players, I don't have a problem with it. Like, end of the day, is a player. I remember growing up in Greece, the sports. I was a really big sports fan back then, but I do remember this part. So there were a few players that grew up in Greece that played in Greece. They, got drafted to Greek teams, but there are a lot of players that are from overseas that got drafted in the Greek teams. Doesn't make them any less player. Doesn't make them a less, a traitor. I'm cool with it. I don't see a big deal about it.
Yeah.
With overreact to those stupidest shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, like I said, for a lot of people, they're turning the game off. And you just had here certainly comments from Pat OD75. Now he's trying to bring a political angle into it in terms of whether or not it's a left versus right sort of thing or what have you. But again, I thought sports was supposed to be the ultimate meritocracy. And clearly France is clearly doing well. They got one of the best players going in the World Cup in Mbappe. So are we looking, is the solution then to say, look, to be a player on a national team for the World Cup, that you must have ancestry that goes back how far? How many generations does it have to go back before somebody is recognized as whatever it is, fill in the blank? Now, again, I've also shared my story on this. Before we go on, let me bring our guy, certainly Anton, certainly to the show. Sock Passe, what's going on?
Just give me a minute. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're a little shallow, but I think
we're you guys. Just give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good. So, certainly I've shared certainly on the show, one of the reasons why I certainly bring a lot of this up is because, certainly my background, so again, I'm not necessarily a purebred of anything. I identify culturally, and my identity is Black American, FBA, ADOS, whatever you want to call it. But I've been very transparent about my background. This is my ancestry test, and I just checked it because it's kind of shifted and pivoted over the years. But I, certainly, have shared this on many occasions. This is my background. I'm from all over the place, right? My main nationality is America, because even though I'm almost a quarter Nigerian, and I have all these African ethnicities, but also got some English ones, Western Midlands, I'm 11%. Celtic, Gaelic, Irish, 2%. I got a little Swedish in me. And so if you look at the map here, this is where this is me. This is all the things that make up who I am. But we came to America, and America had a very different view of how they saw people. And whatever my tribal identity was from all these, no one cared whether I was Nigerian or been in Togo or Senegalese or whatever it is, or Central Nigeria. It was all about when I got here and how they viewed me back then. And so here now, my ancestry goes back to 1700. And so every time I've looked at this, it's gone backwards. The last time I looked at this, it was 1740. Now my ancestry can be traced back to the Carolinas, South Carolina in particular, to 1700. So my ancestry goes back in this country before it was a country, before this was even America, before 1776, which we're about to celebrate the 250th. My people were already here. So again, people can ask the question, who is an American? And so those are things that, that people have to, have to reconcile. And so again, when it comes to these issues of ethnicity in terms of nationality and who belongs on the team and who's not and who's really a true Frenchman, as was said earlier, or who's a Canadian, you know, I mean, these are things that people wrestle with. And then likewise with the first slide, who's an African? So Duplessis is saying, look, I'm born and raised here. My people, my father was raised here. We go back a few generations. When does a white person, for lack of a better word, become an African? And at the end of the day, depending on how far back you go, all of us are African, right? Homo sapiens started in Africa.
Yeah,
that's fact.
People don't want to accept that.
That is fact. I mean, so again, you know, the only difference between black people and white people, white people have about 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. That's it. Black people, we don't have any, unless, like myself, obviously some of my ancestry is, I got some white people. So therefore, I might have a tiny smidgen of Neanderthal in me. But, you know, that's about it. So again, when it comes to these ideas, you got these teams that are representing. You're seeing a lot of brown faces in the game, and it's also interesting to me how when we talk about who are the best people in the game, they want to mention Messi all the time. And I think, you know, certainly as my man Eric talked about earlier, it's interesting they want to talk about Messi. And like Pele just kind of gets pushed to the side. They made a thing about Messi. He scored the most goals in World Cup history, but he's played in like twice as many games. He's played in 28 games. Pele scored 12 goals in 14 games, and he has 3 World Cups. But then when people want to say, well, who's the greatest ever, they want to bring up Messi, who's an Argentinian. And let's not talk about Argentina in terms of their history, but that's another story. But go ahead.
Ironically, most people didn't realize Messi's family actually are Italian.
So,
most people didn't realize.
That's a good point, because if you look at Sicilians, originally the island of Sicilian was African people living there. And if you tell the Sicilian, oh man, they're gonna go for blows for you. I'll give you an example. I know this is a different sport, but basketball. Giannis, he's a Greek man who he's an African Greek man who plays on a Greek team. He's one of the best European basketball players right now. Well, I don't care what his color is.
Right. And like I said, and you might be, you know, that person who, again, it doesn't matter to you. And I find it interesting that it's coming from you because, again, America, again, for what you want to say about it, America, Canada, they kind of started out multicultural, right? Multi-ethnic. It was they brought the slaves over. You had already the indigenous peoples here, and that's the thing. You had so many different indigenous tribes and peoples here already.
Exactly.
So America was never homogenous in any sense. And then you had the great migrations that happened over the centuries here. So America kind of has this narrative that it's always been diverse, but you have some very homogenous peoples and populations that until very recently. So Greece, we all know that history, that Hellenistic history, and Alexander the Great, and you know all that. You know, there's like an identity. A lot of people credit Alexander the Great with the establishment of Western civilization. So you know, these you have these homogenous populations, like I said, Japan. But guess what? Japan's population is the most successful athletes, the most famous athletes that came out of Japan. The tennis player Naomi.
Osaka.
Yeah, her father's Haitian. And so, you know, a lot of and you're starting to see in the sports, the Japan's track and field team, the 4x1 team had like 2 black players on it or biracial players on it. So everybody is seeing, certainly in these sports, that you have people who are representing their nation states in the sports fields that don't come from an ancestral lineage of the nation, but nevertheless, they're contributing.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
When you get a chance, go back to that graphic you had on the World Cup teams, on the breakdown of players. I want you to go back to that because I want to explain something. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I think I remember we were going to talk about this Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give people a smidge of a good amount of this situation, what I was talking about when I brought up the 98 team from France. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to give you a little bit of snippet of it, and if you guys want to hear the rest, Come out to the One-on-One Sports Show Wednesday, and I'll give you a complete breakdown of what I'm talking about. Now, the 98 French team, when you look at guys like Zinedine Zidane, Thierry Henry, Fabien Barthez, David Trezeguet, Didier Deschamps, not all those guys were born in France. Now, if I remember, Zinedine Zidane is originally from Algeria, then his family emigrated to France. So a good number of the black players that you see playing for a country like France come from former French colonies, like Cameroon, like Haiti, like Benin, like Togo, like Cote d'Ivoire, like
Cape Verde,
Algeria, Morocco.
Cape Verde also.
Say again?
Cape Verde, is that former French also or no?
Oh, Cape Verde? No. It's actually pronounced Cabo Verde. It's not
Cabo
actually a
Verde.
French colony. So, no. A lot of the players that you see playing for a lot of European teams are either from the former colonies or their families came from other countries, say like within Africa, and then they live in those countries. Like one of the players from Austria. Here's a very interesting background. His father's Nigerian. His mother's Filipino. He was born in Germany, but grew up in Austria. That's how he became Austrian citizen. That's why he plays for the Austrian national team. A good number of players from Portugal also come from former French colonies, from their former colonies. A lot of players that come from Switzerland. I have family in Switzerland. So a lot of them came from either from the Caribbean or from parts of Africa. So that's very, very common. It's a lot more common than people realize. And this goes back even before 98. And that's why I don't want to go into detail now because
I got you.
I want to explain it on Wednesday's show.
Gotcha. And we also want to open up this conversation. So I am going to drop the link in the chat. So again, to review again, if you come up, camera must be on and be on at all times. Any nonsense will take you off immediately. Okay. So again, link is going in the chat. If you want to come up and be part of the conversation about this or any other topic that we talked about, certainly in the gray area, you're certainly more than welcome to come up and be part of the conversation. So, certainly, we appreciate your participation, but just as always, just keep it respectful, certainly in the show. But again, these larger themes, I think the World Cup is more so a sort of like a case study of, again, what is going on nationally. Like a lot of these countries are having conversations, just like we're having in America, about immigration, about who belongs and who doesn't, about assimilation. And even if you do assimilate, will you still be accepted by the people at large? Like, my people are mostly assimilated into this country. I mean, we kind of go sort of all the way back. But if we want to, but that conversation is this conversation is certainly being had from a political nature. And again, we don't try to talk about too much politics on this show. But now is like anything else. They're saying everything is political. And so it's like you can't get away from the conversation even when it comes to a sporting event. We just had the Knicks who won the NBA Finals, and then as soon as that was over, then there's a conversation about do they go to the White House or not. And so you're always having this mix of politics kind of seeping its way into everything in the conversation, that it's hard to just enjoy the sport. But certainly these things certainly do come up. So just Anton, so your thoughts overall, and especially when it comes to that first slide I showed about Duplessis from Zimbabwe, and his feeling on how he felt being a citizen of Africa, being an African that he's invested in, and that when he won the title, it was for the continent of Africa, and those sort of things. And does he have a point? If we want to be fair about it, does he have a point just as much as anybody else in this conversation?
He does have a point, and I hear where he's coming from. And I know for a fact some people are of course going to make a big thing out of it because he doesn't look like you or me. Plain and simple. You do have whites that live in Zimbabwe. You have whites that live in, I believe, Tanzania. You have whites that live in South Africa. You do have a white population in uncertain areas of Africa. But of course, we all know the history on how they were able to live there. A lot of these places were colonized in some way, shape, or form. They make up the minority, so they were part of their demographic and their background are part of the individuals that ran the country for a significant amount of time. And I think that's the reason why people are basically trying to just ignore him based on that simple fact. South Africa has always had that type of a history.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Afrikaners, the white South Africans.
Yeah.
People forget you have some still of British descent as well as those of Dutch descent.
Right.
People are so quick to forget that. If you look at the old flag of South Africa, two of the flags that you're going to see on there are the Union Jack of Britain and the Dutch national flag as well. So it's very common to hear white South Africans speak with a slight Dutch accent or have names of Dutch origin. It's very common. And it is common to see white South Africans that have names basically of British ancestry as well. So
I'll give you a better example, Anton. There were I can't remember Asian country. They were conquered by the Mexicans. So like I have a last name, and one of my chefs are like that. He's Asian, but he has the last name of Gonzalez. That's a Spanish name. So that is a common thing too now.
Perfect. Yeah. I'll put it like this. I have a friend I used to work with at my job. He's a Peruvian national, but he's Chinese on his father's side.
Mm.
And also the former president of Peru, his name is Alberto Fujimori, Peruvian national of Japanese descent. People forget that a lot of other countries have emigrated to other places as well. How do you think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu got started? The significant number of Japanese that emigrated took the art of judo to Brazil. You take judo, mix it with capoeira, and that's basically what led to the foundation of what we now know as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. One of the most prominent fighters that ever come out of Brazil, other than Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida, Brazilian national of Japanese descent. So this has been going on for a very, very long time.
Right.
And it's not just new when it comes to soccer. It's like that in a lot of other sports. You'll see it in football. You'll see it in baseball. We've seen it a lot in basketball. You'll even see it in hockey too. Mm-hmm. Player I remember that played in the NHL, his name was Johnny Oduya. He represents Sweden, but his father's African. I think his father's Nigerian. But he grew up in Sweden, so that's why he plays for Sweden. Another player also that plays for Sweden, Mika Zibanejad. He plays for our beloved New York Rangers. Grew up in Sweden, but his family's originally from Iran.
Gotcha.
So it's very common. It is very common to see athletes representing particular countries, but when you look at them like they're American or they're Swedish or they're Australian, like the team for Croatia, at least a given those players that play for Croatia, a significant number of them are Australian.
Right.
But they are of Croatian descent. They had the choice to either play for Australia or to play for Croatia. Some chose to play for Australia. Some had an opportunity to play for Croatia.
Right. I guess where I'm kind of driving this, again, for those who are joining the conversation, again, this is a call-in show. So certainly you're free to come up. Again, the rules are, again, camera must be on at all times. We will certainly take out any unnecessary conversation or whatever. We'll just bounce you off the show, but we're having a conversation. You can talk about certainly the topic that we're talking about or any other topic that we've covered on another show. You're free to come up and have a portion of the conversation. All right, so again, no problem with that. Shout out to our guy Liberty Chitcher, certainly in the chat tonight. So Lionel Messi, again, certainly he's had a historic career. Barcelona, I mean, he's been dominant. Certainly in this era, and again, he's certainly the leading goal scorer, certainly in World Cup, no question about that. But the question is, he the best? And again, to me, that's a sports debate.
That's a serious sports debate because for a period of time, Messi was being compared to another great Argentine player, Diego Maradona. And the reason why people put Maradona a little bit ahead of Messi was because he brought home a World Cup title in '86 in Mexico.
Right.
And people are always talking about Messi's this great player, but he never had a chance to win the World Cup.
Right.
He dominated in European playing for Barcelona. He did very well playing for PSG. He's now starting to do his thing here in the U.S. at MLS for Inter Miami. But everyone kept saying he's this great player, but he's never won the World Cup.
Right.
Look what happened the last World Cup in Qatar. He was holding the trophy.
Right.
So now, because he did that, now he's moved ahead of the late Diego Maradona as one of the most prominent Argentines to ever play the sport.
Right.
And of course, they're always going to have that debate of, is he the GOAT? And there are a lot of great players that came before him.
You were even having people talking about he might be the GOAT of GOATs, like comparing him to like Michael Jordan or some other Tom Brady. Is he on that level when we talk about the greatest athletes of all time? Is he up there with those guys? Can he be part of that conversation as the GOAT of GOATs? So, certainly I'm happy to have the conversation. But my thing is, but even in the world of hockey, even then, soccer, football, again, I look at Pele. Now, again, obviously you had fewer teams back then, and again, it's hard to compare era. And even in soccer, although I would say in soccer, I'm not seeing, you could probably speak to this a little bit more, I'm not seeing the evolution of the player in terms of physique, right? It's like in basketball, back in the 60s, the center was like 6'4", 6'5".
Right.
Now you're 7 feet plus or whatever. The athletes at football, back then you could play offensive, defensive line at 240 pounds. Now the average guy's 100 pounds heavier. So there are clearly some physicalities that have changed in these other sports that make, comparing these guys harder. And then you ask the question, could that guy play in today's league just given the physicality of the game? But to me, in soccer, football, it seems like, you got to be somewhat small. I haven't seen any 300-pound soccer players because you're doing a lot of running. The average guy, you'll run 7 to 9 miles in a match, in a 90-minute match. Right. So size is not your friend. When some height might be an advantage, but Messi, he's like 5'6". He's a small guy. He's not. So again, staying low to the ground, that might be an advantage for him. So again, to compare someone like Pele to Messi, again, I welcome that sports conversation, but I just find it interesting when we talk about this growing change in the game where you're seeing more people of African descent, recent African descent. I'll just say that because, like I said, everybody started in Africa. All right, everybody. It just depends on how far you want to slide that time scale back. Right. Everybody started there, but let's just say in the last 500 years. Let's just say that last 500 years, you're seeing this browning in the game, especially on a lot of these European teams. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting how that's going on when you're having these other conversations about immigration and what it means to be a national of a country that's going on. And so to me, I guess the bigger question where I'm really driving all this is is it time that we end some of these labels, some of these definitions? We all know that the concept of race is a social construct that really doesn't have, the DNA says we're all of us. In fact, human beings are the most related out of any of the primates. Like if you look at chimp population and whatnot, the genetic variance between chimps is significantly larger than ours. We're 0.01% different between any other human being in the world. So I don't care if you're black and white, Asian and black, Asian and whatever it is. We are so similar to one another, but it's just amazing how that 0.01% has done a lot of damage in the world in terms of just the ethnic divisions and the tribalism and all the isms that we talk about in the world. So again, as the world is getting more global, right? We've conquered regions and borders and natural borders like rivers and oceans. We've conquered all of that. Fast forward 100 years from now, is any of this really going to matter
I
that
don't think
I'm
so.
of a certain ethnicity or nationality or whatever it is. That can we ever get? And I'm talking to somebody. And again, I don't know, Anton, if you had your DNA. Again, I shared mine earlier. I am in part. I am the world, right? I mean, I'm talking about we are the world. I am. This is me. I mean, I'm all of this, right? Sorry, Pete. I don't have any Greek in me, but
Thank God.
well, see now, I find it interesting. We're having this conversation, but there's one person on this panel who is afraid to take a DNA test because he doesn't want to know whether or not you might be a little, you might be a mutt like me. I don't know. That may come as you see how he bounces off the show. But yeah, I guess you come on back in. But again, are we going to get to a point where these classifications, are they really going to matter at the end of the day? That for all these people in Great Britain upset that they don't have quote unquote Englishmen on the team, whatever you want to define that is.
Honestly, you're never going to see a team GB or the United Kingdom in the World Cup. I think I posted it in the chat too. All 4 home nations that make up Great Britain all field their own teams. England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, they all have their own teams.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, okay, let's come together and play under the Union Jack. They don't do that. They don't.
Right.
And what people don't realize, there's a significant amount of strong dislike all towards the English.
Right. Which is that again, that is kind of like the lunacy of it all. Like even amongst the major portions that make up Great Britain or the United Kingdom, you have these divisions, even though people who, for the most part, look like each other.
Yep.
But then even on the national, on the English team, you have people from England who are upset that you have all these minority players on that make up their rosters. So again, it just once again just shows the ignorance or the idiocy of this idea of race or nationality or borders or what have you. That at what point are we going to just look, this is a human family and it's going to get brown. I mean, people are marrying interracially. We've done shows in the past on interracial marriage, interracial dating. The world is connecting.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a lot of people where it's like, how many people now you see, like I said, in TVs and advertisements and whatnot, interracial couples. In here, they talk about in the UK and all these different markets where like people are marrying. I mean, it's just the reality of the world. What can I tell you? Human beings are attracted to one another.
It's very common, and ironically, a lot of people forget a good number of players that play for the U.S. team, and this was a debate that happened with the U.S. team at one time. Was, do you bring in? Good to see you, Braxton, as always. Do you bring the players that grew up here in the States, or do you bring the players that are, say, playing in Germany? Like, one of the issues I remember they had with the U.S. national team was they had at least 3 players who grew up overseas will play for the U.S. national team. Like, one player was Jermaine Jones, American father, German mother, father was American serviceman who stayed in Germany, born, raised, grew up in Germany, came to the States to visit family and everything else, earned American citizenship through his father. Came up, did play for Germany, I think, at the junior level, was never given an opportunity to play for the senior level, played for the United States. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't see anything wrong with that. And of course, you're going to have those small number of people that made a big fuss.
Yeah.
Is he really American? Because he grew up in Germany.
Yeah. Or even more. Yeah. Fuss. I got you. Well, even more recently, right? You had on the 2024 Olympic basketball team, Joel Embiid, who basically grew up kind of in France, but chose to play for Team USA.
But people forget. I can see why he wanted to play for France. His family's from Cameroon, a former colony of France. So it's very common for anyone from the former French colonies, like I said before, to play for France. It's common for someone from Angola or Mozambique to compete for Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe or even someone from Brazil, which is rarely happens. Or and we've even seen people from Nigeria, or maybe from the Congo, or from some other countries compete for Britain, or maybe Canada, or maybe the United States. So this is not anything new. It's just now being more and more noticed and recognized than ever before. This has always been going on in a lot of sports. I just said it. And I just gave you the name of 2 hockey players who play from Sweden, but they don't look Swedish. That's very common. This is not anything new. I can tell you, perfect example. Would you believe at the Winter Olympics, the men's hockey team had a Latino on their team?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. You know who it was?
No.
The team captain, Austin Matthews. White father, Mexican mother. See?
Yeah.
People forget.
Yeah.
So when I tell people that, they look at me like, you're serious. I wouldn't lie about something like that. It's the truth. And I remember there was an article, I forgot who did. I think the Hockey News did an article, and they were talking about the diversity of the players in the Olympics on the hockey teams for all the countries on both the men's and the women's side. So this is nothing new, people. If you're still stuck on this, like you're supposed to look a certain way to represent a certain country, where the hell have you been?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Liberty Switcher. So he's married to a white woman. That really has nothing to do with it. It really doesn't. I'm just saying anybody can play or compete under a particular flag for whatever reason.
Right.
Like I said, I got family in Switzerland. I got cousins, first generation. Their parents are Haitian, but they were born, raised, and educated in Switzerland. And they hold Swiss passports. I got family in Canada. Also, parents are Haitian. Born, raised, educated in Canada, have Canadian passports. It happens.
Right.
And I guess because I've seen it so often growing up when I was younger, it never really fazed me. And I guess because I grew up, I remember going to a school where a lot of the kids were all first generations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about coming from everywhere from Italy to Uruguay to the Philippines to South Korea to what used to be Czechoslovakia.
Right.
So I'm used to seeing Americans of various backgrounds because of their parents.
Right. Right. But the question, but the larger question still remains. Again, next week, America celebrates 250. And it seems like, again, we're still asking the question, who or what is an American? That people are kind of still having these conversations. You served in the military. To me, that's American enough. I mean, that's like for me, like the ultimate say, if you put yourself on the line, I don't care even, how you got to the country, whatever, you swore an oath to protect and defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You put time in. Whereas you might be somebody who never served, but then you want to hang on to some banner to say, well, I'm more American than you are, whatever, or go back to your country or something because your name might be different. Or you might have a different religion than somebody else. Like there's a lot of nationalism that's going on, not just here, but in all these other countries where this idea of national identity is being raised. And I'm asking, is this the conversation that we need to be having?
Yeah, we do.
And again, if you talk about the course of human history or just history in general, Peter, you go back to the Greeks and whatnot. People get conquered. I mean, Romans, Greeks, whatever, the Egyptians, whatever. People get taken out, mixed, or what. It's all part of it. But people are so afraid of losing their identity, whatever you want to call that, or why is that something so proud to be held on to? That people are wanting to actually implement policy to say if you don't meet a certain standard, as long my thing is, as long as you're law abiding, you obey the laws, you pay your taxes. If called to serve, you serve in a mill, whatever those things are, then why shouldn't that settle the debate? Or because you want to go back to some racial purity test, or or even when it comes to ideology, that people are starting to require certain things of you, or that you have to buy certain beliefs that are becoming more specific in nature. So it's not just enough that, you believe in, again, obeying the law and paying your taxes and whatnot. It's some other stuff that if your politics doesn't align with something, you're not American or what have you.
Because you know what it is, Paul? For a very long time, those who made this an issue never had their identity questioned. They never had anything about them have to be questioned. And you know what I'm talking about when I'm going there. You have people who lived here in the United States for so long, and they never had to be questioned about their nationality, their loyalty or love of country, so on and so forth. You and I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because you're seeing people that don't look like them that are also citizens, now they're panicking. Now they're worried about what they think an American is supposed to look like is changing. Because you have a certain demographic that have been so comfortable for so long, they found ways to make everyone else uncomfortable. And now, for the first time in a very significant amount of time, now those who made others uncomfortable are now starting to feel that same discomfort, and they don't like it. They don't have a problem putting smoke out there for everyone else. But now, the minute that smoke's starting to come down to them, now it's a problem.
And now you just said it, Anton. People are getting uncomfortable with the fact because, different people are playing in these sports, not where they consider themselves as Greeks, as Americans, as Africans, as UK, whatever. I don't give a shit. If people thought more about like, hey, he's a player, he lives in the country, I accept him. We're being in a better world. And I think these walls are so high up now. And we went backwards. We had, all these basketball players, baseball players, break these rules saying, I'm playing. Even musicians saying, hey, I'm not going to go into the outhouse to have dinner. I'm going to sit down in the dining room. So we're going backwards. Why do we give a shit about his skin color? Is he a good player? Does he bring me a trophy home? That's what I want.
Yeah.
It used to be like you said, Paul, the middle ground was sports. I guess we lost that now.
Yeah, it's like that's becoming political. And again, certainly this comment is being raised by Matthew Powell. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. So instead of working together to make changes like we did the last 126 years, we should make other races on top to get revenge. Now, I'm not a killmonger in this conversation. I'm not trying to be, we're not saying, put everybody else down so that we can feel better about ourselves or whatever. But we're talking to the irony of these conversations and the irony of how these ideas of nationalism or who is who or who belongs or what have you, how silly these arguments are. All you need to do is just slide the time scale back. It's just interesting how some people talk about the invasion of whatnot, but at some point weren't the British or whatever, weren't they the invaders? Weren't the colonizers, if you will, the invaders at one point in time? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting now. Everyone's so scared of things but again, it all depends on where you slide the timeline. And I'm just saying, just in general, I'm saying that a lot of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. And we this idea of, again, identity, that we can't just be human beings. Yeah, you want to be citizens of a country or what have you, but again, are the people productive members of society? Are they, are they adding to your bottom line or not, regardless of what country that they come from? But then somebody being of a different hue, or you're afraid of your community browning. I mean, what is the, again, someone has to explain that to me. It's like people are doing good. They're representing your nation. You're not hearing any scandals. These guys are going out there giving their all to try to win pride and national acclaim for your country. And when they get back home, are they even be? And again, it's like we kind of went through this, Anton, decades ago, right? When Muhammad Ali won the gold medal, 1960 Olympics in Rome, came back home and couldn't get a hamburger.
Yeah.
Because, that's going on. Jesse Owens, they just go back in time. And it seems like now it's like a lot of these nations, a lot of these European nations, they're kind of having like the same conversation now.
Well,
that you're talking about, people who are moving and operating in ways not prior, and people are having a problem still accepting them as part of productive parts of the society. It just seems like we're having this conversation all over again.
You know what it is? The problem was this nationalistic attitude has always been around, but you always heard about it in Europe. Like the nationalistic attitude in France, for example, I remember started because of this one person. The Nationalist Party there started because of this one person, and he passed away. He just passed away, I think, a couple of years ago. Jean-Marie Le Pen. He was a former French soldier in the military. He was involved in African wars. That was the time when France pulled out of Vietnam because they couldn't win that situation, and they were literally fighting to hold on to their colonies that they had in Africa. And after the French came back defeated, when a significant number of those countries all gained their independence from France, basically giving them the bird, saying, we're our own nation, we don't need y'all anymore. That's when he started having his attitude. And at the same time that happened, that's when the same segment of those populations from North and Western Africa and some from the Caribbean started to emigrate to France. And then that's when they start having this attitude all about, oh, you're not really French because you're this, you're that. And I tell people one of the ugliest situations I remember happening in France was someone referred to me as La Sale Niger, dirty Negro. Mm. And I remember when we first went to Paris for the first time, and the person was looking at my passport. And he found it hard to believe I have a full French name. Full French name. First name, last name, French of origin with an American passport. And then he sees me. And he finds it hard to believe. He's thinking I'm from Cameroon, or I'm from Cote d'Ivoire, or I'm from Senegal. I said, no, I was born and raised in the United States. My parents were originally from Haiti. And then he really didn't like it because even still to this day, the French still have this issue with Haiti because how Haiti gained its independence from them. And there's still some French people still to this day that still have that bug up their ass because of it. And I don't care. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I just feel like the problem with the powers that be, especially here, they're holding on to their privilege like a whiner clutching his last bottle of whiskey. The other way I could put it like this: people like to see the United States as this great empire. And we all know in history, all great empires eventually fell. We saw it, and we've heard about it in Rome. We heard about with the British Empire. Oh, the sun would never set on the British Empire. Yes, it has. And now we're seeing it here. And BMU, yeah, I know you're listening, and you remember when I said this. you have a segment of people that are trying so hard to make sure that no one hits the reset button. And the way things are going, maybe it's time to hit that reset button.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why the powers that be are trying so hard to hold on to what they have is the minute you hit that reset button, they're going to lose that 400-year head start. And they got to start from scratch like everybody else. The only problem is everybody else is going to find a way to be resilient and find a way to move forward. And they won't be able to.
Mm-hmm.
Because
now, Matt, he's asking, now, how are you defining, because I wasn't part of that conversation, so what do you mean by the reset, or what does that look like from your view?
My best way I can describe the reset button is everything that was kept from people about the ugliness of the history of this country all comes out. Everyone finds out the ugly truth about everything that has happened.
Right. All right, so that's information, that's knowledge, and certainly to Lisa's point here. Again, we do have certainly access to certain resources. Obviously that'd be a lot of information.
Yeah,
but even if it did, I don't know if that necessarily moves the needle, because again, information's there and the information's been there, whether people want to accept it or not. And we talked about that last week when it comes to, again, the idea of cancel culture. Again, the idea is a lot of times is that when we find out things about people or circumstances or events, what is the reaction once we find these things out? Some people, look to either embrace change, but it seems like the majority of people seem to just want to sweep it under the rug. It's like, don't tell us about these things, because they simply don't want to hear it, because they kind of know what the truth is, but they don't want to address it.
Okay, I'll put it like this then. Since people really want to know what I mean by the reset button, this is what I mean by the reset button. And if you hear these terms, you know where I'm going with it. It may have to take a Red Dawn, designated survivor, red man in the high castle type scenario to happen in order for the reset button to be hit. And if you know what I mean by designated survivor, man in the high castle, or Red Dawn, that's where I'm going. Now, I'm not saying it is going to happen, and I'm not saying I want it to happen, but something tells me that will happen. And if you know what I'm talking about in that aspect, you know where I'm going with it. And ironically, a lot of people who served in the military know what I mean by that. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
I don't think I know Liberty's asking for more information. I don't know if he's going to go there, but
all right. Okay, all right, Liberty Twitcher, since you put it like this. If you've seen the movie Red Dawn, and I'm talking about both versions, if you've seen the series Man in the High Castle, if you've seen the series Designated Survivor, it's going to take a situation at those levels for the reset button to be hit.
So here's the thing. So a couple ways I can take this. So giving people all that information, a lot of people are not going to accept the real information, unfortunately. Tony, you know this. I know this, and we all know this. What is real, where facts are, and what is they want to believe is two different things. So I want to bring up the ancient games for a second. During the ancient games, you had all these different gladiators, competitors. It didn't care what color of skin you were, where you came from. You competed, and you didn't win a medal. You were doing it naked. You got a little olive branch over your head, and that's your reward. Maybe we need to get back to those times again. And not caring as much where you come from and just competing for the sport. And during wartime, if the games were during war, wars were stopped. They were paused because the games were more important. That was peacetime. Am I the only one who thinks we should go back to that time?
Well, you can say go back to that time, but I think what Anton is alluding to, it would have to be something cataclysmic. Or we get visited from somebody, right? if there are those alien files are supposed to be released soon. So if there are in fact aliens or something but it's like anything else. People oftentimes have to be scared into a situation just with human history being what it is. For the most part, human history has been bloody. It's been revolutionary. It's been a point where again people just don't tend to make certainly leaps in change or mindset unless they're forced to. And so I think it's almost to a point. It's like you kind of have to hurt here. You got to hurt enough to get off that nail. So the dog laying on the nail, why isn't the dog moving? Because it doesn't hurt enough. It's got to hurt enough before people say enough is enough. When we're going to do something different. Because at that point, if it does go certainly in some of the directions that certainly Anton's talking about, then again, none of this stuff is going to matter. And so that's really where it's at for me anyway. But certainly for those who came in late, this is a call-in show. Certainly the link to the chat if you want to be part of the conversation. Again, the rules are camera must be on at all times. And again, we will not tolerate any riffraff certainly in the show. Again, I'm dropping the link in the chat if you want to come cam up and be part of the conversation. You can certainly do that. But Anton, I don't know if I got your commentary early on. So how this show started, we actually went back to a show a couple years ago. So we're talking about obviously with the World Cup being the current news. But again, but this was sort of the thing I kind of went back to. So again, you had this guy Duplessis, who's I believe he's from Zimbabwe, right. and he talked about how his identity, how he identifies as a person. And it's just interesting that even you had a lot of black people, a lot of Africans were deeply upset by what he said. And the more I heard it, I'm like, yeah, he kind of has a point. Now, again, you want to talk about colonization and all this kind of stuff. We kind of know that history or whatever. But again, what am I going to say to a guy? There was a guy I worked with. He was from, I think he was also from Zimbabwe. And he spoke perfect. He was Indian by ethnicity, but the guy spoke perfect, whatever the language of the people. He speaks it perfectly. Like me, because a lot of brothers sometimes will be like, yeah, black people and whatnot. But I am. If you just add everything together, with the exception of how I look, and even then I don't look like I'm kind of I can go there. I'm going to stick out when I go there because I'm not. I don't have the complexion, right? But even if I did, that's the only thing I would have in common. This guy knew the history of the country. He spoke the language of the country, but his background is Asian Indian. And again, you have Asian Indians that have communities in Africa. Remember what happened with Uganda a few years ago, with these Asian Indian populations and stuff and some of the tensions there. You got countries like now you got Trinidad and Tobago or Guyana. Yes. It's like half black, half Indian. And it's interesting when my family, we went to Jamaica about 3 years ago, our driver, he was, just taking us around on tours and stuff. I asked him, he looks Asian Indian and he knows his ancestors from there, but he has no idea. Like he is Jamaican. He is like, he's got the accent. He's got all of the, the culture down. That's who he is. Yeah. He doesn't know if he's from Northern India, Southern India. It doesn't matter. So your thoughts on Duplessis and certainly the response, because a lot of times when we talk about these things, we look at it from the perspective of, again, Europeans looking at black people or people of color. But this guy kind of flipped the whole conversation on his ear, looking at it from the other side. So how do you,
like I said originally, it was 2 years ago, I think we did that show with this guy. And I said to you back then, it doesn't matter where he's from. It matters where he's trained and where he lives and where he resides. If he feels he's more African than, let's say, you or anybody, he has the right to say that because he's living there and you're not. You're African by culture. Same thing with me. I am Greek. I lived and was raised there. But am I currently living in Greece? No. If a person in Greece can call me up right now, come on the show, it calls me out like you're not really Greek because you don't live there anymore. I have nothing to push back on that, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I'm more American than Greek right now. That's the point, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Like, now, unfortunately, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's not like
It's the hard truth, but it's the truth sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I said, Duplicity has a. I see where Duplicity is coming from, and like I said, Zimbabwe has a significant white minority. So do a lot of other countries, and I even said South Africa has a significant white minority.
Yeah.
So if you have individuals who live there, who reside there, who know the history, who speak the dialects, of course, people are going to question and saying, "How can you call yourself African and you're white?" And I remember having a discussion like this with a friend of my sister's who's from South Africa. He has family of British and of Dutch. His family was one of the few whites that were never fans of apartheid. But he speaks Afrikaans. He speaks English.
Yeah.
You know, and he honestly said, while black people could give him a hard time saying, well, you're white, he says, I'm more African than you are because I was born and raised on the continent.
Yeah. that's
scary
hard
to say, but
that's kind of hard to you can't deny that, you know. And to me, if anything, it's almost like a celebration of humanity. The fact that we can be in so many different spaces and places, regardless of where we come from, that we are amongst the most adaptable species on the planet, that we have this mobility, we can be in all these places and establish identity and cultures and roots anywhere. I mean, I think it's a testament to us, but I think for a lot of us, we don't see it that way. We just see it as being again, just another reason to divide or just something else to get angry at. But we gotta certainly,
or sometimes worse, people think we see it as a burden,
a
curse.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah,
I mean, okay. I was born and raised here in the United States. My parents are from Haiti. My grandparents are from Haiti. My great grandparents are from Haiti. I'm very familiar with the culture and everything else because my parents remind me of that. My extended family reminds me of the culture and the identity of my people, of my ancestry. Right. I haven't stepped foot on Haitian soil since I was a child. I would love to step foot on Haitian soil. Maybe I'll feel this sense of relief. Maybe I'll break down and cry because I'm finally on the land of my ancestors.
Yeah.
You know, people don't realize the importance of that sense of connection. And I think that's what people don't realize. The importance of knowing your history, knowing your roots, knowing your lineage, having it passed down, looking at layouts of your family tree and where your family's from, knowing where your family has branched off to different places, knowing that I have family still here in the States, knowing I got family in Canada, knowing I have family still in Haiti, knowing I have family in Switzerland, knowing I have family in Italy, knowing that one of my relatives from Canada lived in China for a year, knowing that one of my other cousins from Canada is married and lives in Switzerland.
Gotcha. Want to get into certainly we had a guest coming in, the OG, the wise one in the chat tonight. He's also a member of the 7B Club, the Bold and the Beautiful, the Beneficent, Benevolent Ball Brotherhood of the BMU Network. We're still taking applications and membership. And so, Peter, certainly you're more than willing to certainly join this club and organization. But let me certainly get the OG, the true OG of the network on the channel, our guy, R. Payne, in the build tonight. What's going on, sir? How you doing?
What's good, old man?
And I must also represent. So again, when we talk about one of these things is not like the others, not only do you have these three bald, beautiful brothers on here, also New Jersey natives. So we got 3 New Jersey natives and 1 PA native here as well. So all the more reason, Peter, join this wave, join the revolution here. Certainly you're surrounded by greatness. So I'm just saying, just want to give that to you.
What's up, gentlemen? What's going on?
What's good, sir? How are you doing?
Hey, I wanted to get on that. Hey, what's that? I want to get on that last conversation about the white boys saying they're African. I mean, they're well within their rights, but I think they're being a little disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that a lot of them are being because they don't live the African life. They are African. They could tell a Black American. First of all, I think Black Americans falsely act like we're Africans. We're not. We're Americans. You know, and so, but the point is, I think a lot of them are disingenuous when they use that to prove a point. You know what I'm saying? You were born there. Yeah, you're an African, but I think because of the way the world is, I think we make African synonymous with having black skin. We probably don't need to do that anymore, right? With all the colonization that's been going on and all that kind of stuff. Like for example, we look at England, we look at Italy or Greece. We could try to say, well, you know, when I'm Greek, you automatically think of a white man. Well, you can't tell, what's his name?
Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yeah, you can't tell him that. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, we have to move past this whole thing of where we're born, that's who you are. So that they're well within their rights to call themselves African. But are they African when it's convenient? Because of the black African don't live the same kind of life they do. Especially when South Africans use that trope. South African whites. So I mean, I'm not saying they're all bad and all that kind of stuff, but we know that South African whites hate black people, and it's only a generation since, just one generation since they had the worst goddamn apartheid system known to modern man. So you can't tell me that shit's going in one generation.
Right.
It's not.
Yep.
That's true.
It's not. You know, so anyway, I just wanted to say, yeah, you're African. I don't want to take that away from you, but let's not be disingenuous about it. You ain't living a black African life. You're not. You know, so and some of that's just black Africans' fault. It's so corrupt in that goddamn continent, man. Everybody comes in and takes whatever they can. The Chinese are gonna annex that shit. And let me just say this last thing. Any of you guys used to see Mr. Robot?
Oh, I remember that series.
No, I remember the.
Have you saw that, Pete? You didn't see Mr. Robot?
No.
Oh man, Mr. Robot, man, the series is fantastic. But
talk about going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but one of the underlying things of that was they had this secret hand for Chinese people, right? And they wanted to get the world to approve them to annex the Congo. You know what I'm saying? And I started to look into it. China is almost taking over integral parts of Africa. And African people who live there can't even participate in that because they've been sold out. So I'm just trying to say is everybody's exploited that continent to no end. You know, and it's still going on now. And I don't know whether it's in our gene that passed to us in America or not. But somehow we've been the brunt of colonial jokes for generations. And it's sickening. Anyway, so I didn't want to go down the road. But if you haven't seen Mr. Robot, y'all got to see that series.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out.
It's fantastic. A couple of episodes, you'll be hooked. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to say. But I mean, this is a good call-in show. So I said, let me call in.
Yeah, appreciate it. But let me get your view since you're also a sports guy. Yeah. So your just view on again what we're seeing in the World Cup in terms of just the demographics. That again, for some reason I didn't notice because, like I said, I knew Tim Howard, who was I think he was on 3 World Cup teams. I think 04, 08, and 12. I think. And like I said, I know his family. So he was always like a
2006, 2010.
Yeah, so he was always like a standout, as far as, African-American players on the team. And now, like, for some reason, like for the first time, because you watch how they introduce the teams, everyone's doing their posing and all that kind of stuff. It's like, man, there's all these black players on the team. And then I looked all across the board, and you had all these teams that had a large number of black players on this team. So do you think that this is a good thing in terms of, maybe people will start to see it just for the game it is. It's just football. It's just, maybe it's one of those things that can unify people. Or do you think it's going to be a bit more divisive, especially in these countries that are having their own arguments about immigration and what it is to be a French person or from Portugal or whatever it is? Because it seems like both of these things are going on at the same time, even though these guys are busting their butt trying to simply win a World Cup for the countries they represent.
No. Listen, first of all, I'm not a big soccer fan, right? But I've seen some, and it's been black players have permeated that sports for years. It's not new.
Mm-hmm.
And the hell that they take over in Europe,
Yeah.
It's unbelievable the hell they get into and how they're treated over there. I think one of the biggest things is because now we're in America, and now they're being seen through an American lens. And it kind of shows that, once you're here in America, it's kind of like, I got to use it. I hate to use this goddamn term. Excuse me, Lord. It's like a sanctuary. Being over here playing soccer is like a sanctuary for everybody because of the way we're set up as Americans. You know what I'm saying? So the black players actually have relief. They don't got nobody in the stand doing monkey jokes.
Monkey chants. I talked about that earlier.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
That's right. It does happen, and a lot of people don't realize, like, the monkey chants, the throwing of the bananas, and sometimes even the Nazi salutes. And it's not coming from like the regular everyday fans.
Right.
These are coming from the ultras. And for anyone who don't know anything about the ultras are those diehard, got nothing to lose fans who will take over one section of a stadium and raise hell.
Yeah, these guys, you'd be seeing them riots at these games and the riot police coming out and stuff. I mean, there have been some of these games get violent. I mean,
let me finish just a little bit though.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Even in soccer, soccer is a very athletic sport. So none of us should really be surprised that it's going to be, populated by a lot of black people.
Mm-hmm.
If you want,
I don't know. Hey.
Well, what's wrong with saying that? I mean,
I'm just kidding.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, what I'm saying, that's pretty funny. So I just think that if you want some players to win, you're going to have some black players on your team. They don't necessarily have to be the best, but
Yeah, well, I brought up Japan has one black player, and he's the goalie.
The goalkeeper.
Yeah, so he's like the most important position on the field.
And at one time, and Paul, at one time, they actually did have a Brazilian on their team too. He played for Brazil. He was born, played in Brazil for a period of time. People thought his career was over. Moved to Japan, helped start the J League, their top league. Played there for a significant amount of time, earned citizenship, and played for their national team.
Hey, isn't it great to see all the white folks and all the visitors from the rest of the world coming here to America and actually extolling what they've been told about this place is not correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And you see, I've seen so many videos. These guys are like, holy wow, they just don't go down to downtown LA and see the homeless.
They don't go to South Central or go to downtown Newark or anything else.
Oh man, but I don't know. But yes, I don't know if I answered your question. I think it's great.
I think you did. But it's just all this given that since again next week America does celebrate 250. Your thoughts on the upcoming, what it may mean to you personally, if anything. And just your overall feeling, and just FYI, Lynch, we're not going to have a show next Sunday. We're going to take off because of the July 4th weekend. No show, but just your thoughts on since we're talking about again World Cup and just all these things, and the fact that people are seeing America the way we are. We're just
I think first of all, the 250th anniversary of America is a fantastic thing. And the only thing, it's fantastic. I just want to have a conversation with my daughter about, and I don't want to get into politics, but people hate the man in charge. There's enough people who hate the man in charge that taints almost anything he's trying to do. Mm-hmm. But America is separate from that. There's 250. As black people, we like to tend to say, well, that's not our 250. Well, the hell it ain't. Mm-hmm. Right? Even if we talk about slavery, I think as black folks, as black American people, we're the people with receipts that we helped build this fucking place. Because my language,
that's right.
We got receipts. We
100%.
Got generations of receipts. I don't want to hear anybody say that we can't celebrate 250 years, even if our freedom is only 150 years old, or 110 years old, 100, whatever it is. Right, so the point is, a lot of the stuff that's going on, we've already paid our dues. And so, whatever the celebrations may be, we should take pride that the country is living. That's why I'm so conservative. Now, that's why I don't like to just give it away from people trying to come here for free. We paid a lot of dues for where we are as Black people in this country, and we shouldn't be giving it away for people who just want to come hang out. You know, so I think the 250 is great. Whatever they got planned, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I put it like this: there's a lot of things that happen in this country. We all know that's bad, and there are a lot of things that are good. So yes, it's a bag of mixed nuts, and a lot of people have contributed to the founding and the growth of this country. Not just the Black slaves or the indigenous people who were forced off. Hell, even my people contributed. The city of Chicago, founded by someone of my background, Jean-Baptiste Pontesap. Most people never knew that. He is the first official resident of the city of Chicago. Most people never knew that. Also, my ancestors fighting for our independence, defeating the French to gain our independence. We were the reason why the Louisiana Purchase took place. So you think France just gave away that land just for the sake of it? Hey, you guys want this? Hey, United States, you want all this land from Louisiana all the way to the west just for the hell of it? France was nearly broke. And we're the cause of that. And my people take pride in that too. You're welcome. There are a lot of people that have helped contribute to the building of this country. Whether you were the slaves on the plantation, my ancestors who fought, Native Americans who've already been here, the Asians who helped build the railroads, the Mexicans that were here that also fought as well against the Spanish. A lot of people helped build this country in so many ways. Yes, there are a lot of things that are wrong. But we should learn from the negative of the past and try to build a better future. Not only that, we look at what happened, we know what's wrong, let's not go back down that road. Plain and simple. And I'm not going to say plain and simple, it's not that simple.
Right.
But the only way we can flourish to move forward, we have to acknowledge, accept the fact of the things that happen, the atrocities, and all the garbage and the nonsense and the bullshit. We have to accept that.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by we have to accept it? What do you mean? Do we have to have like a truth and reconciliation council like they did in South Africa? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's the place to start. I don't know if reparations. I know a lot of people feel like reparations is the answer. A part of me feels like I see where everyone's coming from. A part of me feels like I don't know if that's going to work or if it's going to take just that. But it gets to the point that there's a lot of things that have happened in this country's history that a lot of people don't know about. And it's time to put it out there. And it's time to accept the fact that not only things that happen wrong, but there has to be a way we can get better and move forward from here.
All right. Okay. I mean, I have mixed feelings about stuff like that. I mean, I think we should be informed by the past. However, every time we have those conversations, somehow we get stuck in the past. Sometimes we get stuck in the past. On these panels, I very rarely see anybody talking about how do we see ourselves in the future. Very few. I mean, it's limited, if any. And and I argue with BMU about this a lot. I said, yeah, because he got a lot of stories about his grandfather in Louisiana and all that shit. Okay, cool. So, but once you know, what do you do with that information? How do you propel that into the future to say, okay, we're not going to make these mistakes of the past. I teach my kids that these are the things to look out for, and then okay, let's get on with the job of shaping what the future should look like. And then I try to step back. I said, my time is more than spent because the future doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the young guys. If you're 40 and younger, you got a chance to shape your future, even if you're a little older. But if you're in your 60s, my job when I talk to people is, what do you see yourself in the future? Because I could sit down here and give you all the shit about the past I can, but unless it's beneficial to you, why are we dwelling there? What are you going to do with your life? You're not going to put this albatross around your neck and say, because of slavery, because of that, because of Jim Crow, because of that. Okay, what you going to do with it? You know, so I that's the only thing I have. And I'm not saying don't know your history. We always jump to that. I'm not saying that. So, but what are you going to do about the future?
I agree, but let's just real quick, and we got about 15 minutes left in the show. Certainly, anybody who wants to jump on and be a part of the conversation, again, camera must be on at all times, and we monitor things closely. So, if you want to be part of the conversation, the link is in the chat. But let's talk about the future. Let's talk about just trending, certainly in this country and even in Europe. Now, again, everyone's dealing with, and again, especially with the backdrop of the World Cup with these diversified teams. Teams are diverse, but yet they're still talking about immigration. And they're talking about this idea of this fear of national identity. And people are concerned about those things going away. So, like, are we going forward in terms of this idea? Is this concept of even national identity, should that even be a thing? That what defines a nationality? How far you want to go back and look at that? Are those even conversations even worth having, just given what these World Cup teams are looking like? And just overall, I mean, people are just marrying interracial. I mean, the fastest growing group in the world is like interracial marriages. So everyone's going to look like, you know, some blended person at some point in time, as long, you know, these borders have been taken down, information passes freely between nation states, is all out there. So are we going forward, or or these folks talk about national policies, are we actually going backwards in a way to try to nationalize a certain look or certain ideology?
Should we separate nationality from interracial marrying? For example, right, in America itself, right? I believe that integration or intermarrying and all that interfaith, all that stuff is inevitable, right? Because the world is smaller. Does that mean we shouldn't have national borders? Because we don't all culturally think the same, And I think that here's my problem with unfettered immigration, because immigration without assimilation into a certain culture is colonization. Right. Part of immigration in America in the later years is because we wanted those people to become Americans, not so they could have little enclaves of whatever the hell they were before and not have allegiance to the country. If you take away the national borders, and I don't know about you, but I don't want our country to look like Somalia. I don't want our country to look like any other country but the way it is right now. And so if you take those borders away, and you have people who are in charge that, like, for example, Mondani's a communist. I don't want to live under a communist regime with open borders to everybody and all that shit. I don't want to do it. Now, I don't have as much time on this earth doing that, but we already know through history that shit don't work. It takes away the human element of success and of achievement, because they're going to take away what you've earned and give it to somebody who doesn't deserve it. So I'm just saying, so intermarrying is not the same thing as having national borders. America proves that. They got people who are Chinese or Haitian or Black or American or Greek who are American to the core. The nationality is American, but their heritage is all over the different world. But they're bounded by the flag. Right.
But the only distinction I would make, I guess, either with the America or the flag, like, we kind of started that way to an extent.
Right.
Whereas you've had these countries that have, like Greece, thousands of years of history there, of a homogenous, Japan, a mostly homogenous population that is starting, at least in terms of how people are looking. Look at their sports teams. Look at the track and field teams, the 4x100 team. Look at their World Cup team. Look at, again, Naomi, I forget her last name, the tennis player. Osaka. So, again, it's almost like a lot of these countries are starting to have the conversations that we might have had 50, 60, 100 years ago. It just seems like now they're getting a taste of what America went through, and maybe it may not affect us as much because we've had this conversation, or because we're kind of in the process of doing this, where for them it's like, oh, there's black people here in the country. Oh, I don't know what to do with that. America started, again, my people were here before America was here. My came here 1700. So again, it's not. So to me, it's like they're starting to kind of go through what America is currently going through or has went through. Would you see that as a difference?
But they have an opportunity to control it. Look what's happening to Europe now. Japanese. I think there was only one race of people who are more racist than white people, and that's the Japanese.
Really,
right? So because when I'm saying in terms of protecting their homogeneity, if you want to use it that way, people didn't conquer. Europe didn't conquer the Japanese. When those sailors got there, they found some people more arrogant than them. So if they see immigration in Japan, they're going to control that so they don't lose their borders and their national identity, not like Europe has, not like London has, or France and all these other places. Belgium is trying to correct the mistake of unfettered immigration, because the way of life that's coming in from these third world countries is not the way they want to live. So England is so bad now that throwing people in jail for misspeaking and giving them long terms, right? So I don't want to live like that in America. So the point really is, you could pick your poison. Now, the sports team is one thing. Having enclaves of people colonizing your country is another. It's just another, right? People don't look at it like the Somalians in Minnesota, and I'll be real quick. They were one election away from having a bloodless coup in Minneapolis. And the only reason why they didn't win that mayoralty is because the Mayor Fry understood that there was a faction of Somalians who hated the faction that Ilhan Omar belongs to. And he got them to vote for him as opposed to voting for that Omar Fatah. If Omar Fatah would have became mayor, they would have had a bloodless coup of a colony in Minneapolis. They would have been able to change the boards, the laws, and all of that shit. You think it was bad now? They're not American. If you listen to a Somali, they never say they're Americans. They say, I got American citizenship, but I'm a Somali. And, so the point really is, we have this immigration policy that doesn't demand assimilation. It doesn't demand it. You don't have to learn the language. You don't have to pledge allegiance to the flag. You can we're going to give you almost citizenship means nothing now. In Los Angeles, they want to let illegal aliens vote. And they have that on the board right now. Or non-citizens, I should say, vote. How can that?
I don't 100% agree with the Japanese comment, because my girlfriend is half Japanese and she's proud.
Well, now, that's anecdotal. It's not everybody. I'm talking about as collective, as a society. They're very guarded. That's how they stayed homogeneous. They're very guarded. You can't just walk in there and whip out your Johnson and start spreading your seed over in Japan. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell some American soldiers that, but that's another story. Usually, Brown, all those military bases over there. So I'm just saying.
Our parents, my girlfriend, her grandparents met during World War II, and she took her as a bride, war bride, whatever it was called back then, and she lived ever since then here, and she was a very happy woman.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, but like I said, I think these are conversations that people, it's good to have them. And again, I know that gets into a lot of politics and stuff in terms of, again, borders, controlling your borders, national identity. My concern is when you talk about national identity when it comes to the ideology. That I get when people start trying to control what you think, or to be an American, you must think in certain ways. I get a little cautious there. Or what religion that you have, I got issues with. I got issues with that. So again, that's a slope that people try to define again what an American is, and I don't know if you can do that. You mean if you stay in the country for a certain period of time, you pass a citizenship test, the laws of the land, you serve in our military, you obey the laws, you pay your taxes. I think that's American enough. But for some people, they're wanting more in the definition of what it means to be an American, and I just think that gets into a very narrow way of doing things.
I don't disagree with what you said. If you're a citizen, you're a citizen, and you're going to define whatever you're going to. It's because the line has been blurred between legal citizens and people who are here illegally. That line has been blurred. There's people on the campaign trail now, so it doesn't matter whether you're here legally or not. If you're here on this soil, you deserve all the benefits as an American citizen. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. But if you're an immigrant and you go through the process and you become American, then hey, you're my brother. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Mantrell in the building tonight. Robert Jeff, he's like, yeah, shout out to my dude. Where were you earlier, man? You always missing these calls. You always don't get on the conversation. But so
I wonder if Mandrell would say the same thing about South Korea, but we're gonna leave that for another discussion.
That's another. We ain't going there. We ain't going there.
Don't tell on yourself, man. Yeah.
But we're gonna start putting the landing gear down on this plane. Don't want to take on too long. So we appreciate the chat. Certainly, people again every week we're finding new people in the chat who are certainly contributing to it, whether we agreed or disagree with all your comments tonight. So again, certainly Machi Pal. Hopefully I'm pronounced that right. So you've been contributing to the conversation. Christian Marshall 7777. You've been certainly in here tonight. I said it right. Okay, I appreciate that. But again, I appreciate you guys being on. Not sure if this is your first time being here. Again, the Gray Area Show, we kind of cover everything dealing with, again, common culture. We don't go heavy into politics. We try to steer away from that. A lot of times they say you don't talk about religion and politics. We try not to go there, but it's about two different perspectives for the most part, unless we have a call-in show. And we talk about just different things in society, marriage, family, community, activity, sports, just things that we share. Because a lot of times when people have the conversation, more times than not, we realize that we're more common than not. And so again, we go off the theme, the gray area being the black guy and the white guy, but we find there's a lot of gray between us. And I think if more people had a conversation rather than just feeding the algorithm of just dissension and disunity and whatnot, we can just talk like adults and be respectful of each other, not always agreeing, but we just have that conversation. I think everyone's better off. And certainly, even in the chat, when you're having this, when you're having this conversation, certainly we appreciate certainly be here. So again, this wasn't about classes of race. We just had in the world of sports. It just so happened that we kind of went into this lane. Really, tonight we're talking about just nationalism and what does it mean to be a national of a particular country.
In the end of the day, listen, I'll be honest with you guys. A lot of things he says, I don't agree. He argues about his baby oil all the time. I'm not going to our pain. He's too old. I'm going to let him pass. Seriously, you don't have to get along and agree 100%, but you do have to respect each other. If you respect each other, this world will be a lot better. And this is why we came up with the gray area. I'm like, we're doing 3 years now, Paul, I think, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, when I went back and I saw that show that we did on the topic earlier, I was surprised, man. 2024. We're kind of going to our 30th. I mean, yeah, I think it was like early 24 or late 23.
Yeah, same with me. I've been here for a while.
Yeah, so again, it's been great, and the crowd, certainly the audience has been growing. Like I said, we get new people engaging with us every week. Certainly, we're glad that you like it here. It's not a requirement for you to shave your head. But again, the 7B network, we are accepting membership into the organization. Don't be like George Jefferson. Don't do the half dome thing or whatever. If you're gonna go all the way. So we take our baldness with pride, certainly in this space. But you're more than welcome, certainly, to join our membership. Certainly, Kyle Beats, appreciate you being here tonight. Certainly with the conversation. Really appreciate that as well, and absolutely differences help us to grow, and we just try to do that in a conversation. But I think we can kind of come to closing thoughts, and certainly we can help land this plane. So our pain, since you are our senior OG here, and we got to get together soon. I haven't seen you in a minute.
Yeah, man.
We got to make that happen soon. But anything you want to say, share some wisdom with us as we close the show.
Before you laugh, I probably lost like an ounce or two since I saw you.
Real good. You in there? I see you pumping it. You pumping the iron. You getting them biceps showing it.
Different things, man. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I got to. I'm in that age. But tomorrow I have my show tomorrow. You know that, right? And The show was called Kings of Queens, right? I mean, queens or pawns. The power that black women have in the Democratic Party. Are they queens or are they being used as pawns? That's So the title is on the thumbnail. So it should be a.
Gotcha. And your show is, I think, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
7 p.m. Eastern, yeah.
Eastern Standard Time. So, again, you can certainly join our Payne show. Always on Monday evenings on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Certainly go there and hop on. But, Anton, any closing thoughts for you before we get out of here?
Great discussion and everything else. Now, we did talk about the World Cup and everything. And if you want to...
Now, hang on. Save some of your smoke. If you got sports takes, save it for Wednesday.
That's what I said. I said if y'all want to hear more of the discussion we were having, I said I didn't want to bring it here. But if you want to hear what I'm saying, come to the 101 Sports Show, and I'll give you a very good history on some of the things that we were talking about, and you'll see what I mean by that. So come in on Wednesday, 8 o'clock, I believe.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Right.
And I'll give you a breakdown of that. What you see at the World Cup now is not new. This has been going on actually for a significant amount of time. This even goes further back before when I mentioned the 98 team. So come on Wednesday and I'll break it down and explain it to you.
There you go. And I'm glad, again, Match Power, if I could go look at Albert could say, well, how do you know if you don't try? So give it a shot. So yeah, my age, I lost mine. So again, mine can't crow back. So again, I was either going to go through that door or it was going to be the constant comb over or make it. Now I see these brothers getting this ink. You see what these guys are doing now? They're getting I ain't doing that. I don't do any tattoos anyway, and I'm not doing the head tattoo thing.
I've been shaving my head for well over 20 years, so I'm good. I enjoy it.
And you've been using baby oil for over 40, probably. I went to one barber. I used him once, and he screwed up. He goes, just sprays. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, sheesh. With tonight, it's sports, guys. We make everything racial and political. Let's keep sports and fun. We're always gonna argue which one is better, the Jets or the Giants. The Jets are better anyway. Oh God! Fuck off up there. The Giants. The Eagles are the best. Whatever. I don't care. And the Yankees versus Mets. Greece versus America. I don't give a shit. Sports. It should be fun. You can argue about who wins, who loses. It shouldn't be a political or racial thing. That needs to stop. If you don't realize that, then you're drinking the wrong Kool-Aid, my man.
Gotcha. Well, I would just like to say, I mean, I'm kind of, piggybacking off of Peter a little bit. I think sports, I think the beautiful game, I believe, as soccer is oftentimes referred to, I think it is an opportunity to see the world. Just like I had the same feeling when I was watching the World Baseball Classic in the spring. We have all these different nationalities and ethnicities coming together. Certainly playing the game. You're seeing how different teams react. They have different cultural practices and whatnot. I think it's a beautiful thing. I appreciate humanity. Again, our ability to adapt all the ways that we're different, not just trying to be homogenous to one type of way of doing things. And certainly seeing this growth in black participation, certainly in soccer and other sports that we're seeing, or whites participating in sports that have been traditionally held by black people. Look at the NBA. We've had certainly a lot of European players who've certainly been dominant in the leagues as of late, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I think let the best man, regardless of their race, ethnicity, where you come from, let the best people win, play, and potentially win. And I think, certainly this, I think, is a celebration of humanity, not just an opportunity for people to revel in their fears. But, oh, my gosh, our civilization is going to be taken over. I mean, humans were evolving. And, again, I understand the importance of borders, but we may need to do a redefine what borders mean. Because populations are changing. Ethnicity-wise, demographically, people are intermarrying and whatnot. So, again, if you expect everybody, your grandkids, to look at how your great-great-grandmother did, that may not be happening in the future. And we need to, as a human family, if we're ever going to, succeed for the next 1,000 years, because we certainly have the weapons now to do things to each other that they'll take everything out. And then we're going to ask ourselves, was it all worth it at the end of the day? Or can we come together and form not only a more perfect union in the United States, but globally? Can we, form something that, we can see our kids and our grandkids in the future playing and doing things together and be better than what we were? And so, again, hopefully this show is part of that effort to lead a conversation, to have people have more healthier dialogue, even when we disagree with each other. And, so that's also what, sort of the gray area, what we always strive for here. So again, no show next weekend. Enjoy your celebrations. And, we'll see you we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. And actually, again, my wife, she's actually going to be out of, because so RPing or Anti, I may reach out to you guys. I'm going to be a bachelor for a couple of days. I don't see how I'm going to do it, but I may reach out to you guys. If you guys are around, maybe we can break bread then. Yeah.
Paul, I'm usually the one who gets you in trouble, but I can't. I got misses on the other side of the wall. So you're on your own this time. See ya.
Yeah. I'm gonna try, man. Got to soldier on. But again, we appreciate you guys being part of the conversation. Just make sure you hit the like button so as you leave the show. Not only here, hop on over to Spartan HQ. Show some love over there as well. We're very close to monetization on that channel, and we're doing a lot of hard work there to make sure that channel's successful. So definitely looking forward to
hit the like button if you like the show tonight. If you want to see more of what we got on that channel, hit that subscribe button as well.
You know it. Well, again, for all you guys, certainly enjoy the rest of your week. Continue to enjoy the games around the 32. Some teams got eliminated today. Continue to enjoy everything. But until next time, take care. God bless, and we will see you next week.